my name is Marla Roper with Computer Futures Specialist Staffing Solutions. I'm joined here today by Ben James from HomeAway, also part of the Hyperloop competition team. So for those people who don't know, can you kind of give us a brief summary of what the SpaceX competition is and the whole Hyperloop concept?
Gotcha. So in 2013, Elon Musk put out a white paper on a concept he'd been working on called Hyperloop, which is essentially a train-like transportation system that takes a long tube, takes all the air out of it, and then puts a Hyperloop pod that levitates inside this tube. And because the tube is evacuated, the pod is levitating, you can approach very fast speeds, like the speed of sound, how fast airplanes go. So this is a concept he put out there in the world. The world got excited but didn't know what to do with it. And then SpaceX says, you know what, let's do a student competition where student teams will build functional Hyperloop pods and see what happens. And over the last two competitions, a lot of progress has been made. We got up to like 200 plus miles an hour. So just really exciting things of how fast Hyperloop can progress. And this last time, two teams from the University of Texas went to the Hyperloop competition, and the one team, Guadaloop, won an innovation award for our levitation technology.
Very cool, that's awesome. So what made you want to start this endeavor and enter the SpaceX competition?
What got me excited about it was when I first read the white paper Elon Musk put out. I thought, this is a great idea. Actually, I went to Georgia Tech as an electrical engineer, and my senior design project was on a small-scale maglev train. So I've been somewhat obsessed with new transportation technologies for some time. And while I was at a startup event here in Austin, Texas, the Guadaloop team had a little booth, and the three founders were sitting there with their Guadaloop t-shirts, and I started asking them questions, and then I started asking some very technical questions about the merits of magnetic levitation versus air bearings. And at that point I said, I would love to just come check it out or to see what you guys are up to, and they said, cool, and that was just the start of it. I got pulled into it, and I haven't looked back since.
Nice, that's awesome. So have you entered competitions like this before?
No, the closest thing I came to was the first robotics competition. I was on-ground tech support for a competition or two there. So the first robotics competition is an amazing event started by Dean Kamen, in which high school teams put together these robots for a given challenge. And the challenge changes every year, but let's say it's like a basketball challenge. So you build a robot roughly the size of this chair or bigger that will go pick up basketballs and try to shoot them versus other teams trying to do the opposite on your net. And it's just like high school sports, except it's robotics. And their tagline, which I love, is that unlike professional sports, everyone can go pro in engineering.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what was the very first thought you had when your team, Texas Guadaloop, won the SpaceX Innovation Award?
I was at the airport flying out, and my first thought was, darn it, how did I miss this award? When Elon Musk showed up, I was there, and he got out of his Tesla and waved at everybody. I thought, this is really cool. I didn't get to meet him, but one day Elon. And when I was sitting in the airport, I got the text message, which was this picture of my team victoriously holding up the award. I was ecstatic.
Yeah.
Because we worked really hard that week and a couple of years before then on making a system that was really going to show that air bearings are perfect for Hyperloop. So, air bearings, levitating through air bearings is the way to go for Hyperloop. And that's what we won the innovation award for, was our levitation technology, specifically the hopper tanks, which help keep good regulation going through the air bearings.
Right.
But air bearings are really cool. They are frisbee-shaped items with little rubber skirts, and it's essentially like an air hockey table turned upside down. So you just have a frisbee, you blow air through it, about 50 psi, and it can lift 2,000 pounds for every air bearing.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it's really cool. the first generation pod that we made, we call Furiosa, and it weighs 1,200 pounds, it's 12 feet long, and it's really hard to move until you turn on levitation, and then it's like moving a grocery cart.
Okay.
Like an empty one.
Okay, cool.
Really
so
cool.
Easy.
Yeah.
Super easy.
That's what levitation does.
Nice. Kind of like Harry Potter, right? Almost.
Just like, except real.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, Harry Potter fans.
Well, what do you think differentiated you from the rest of the competition?
I would love to say it was our grit and persistence, but after meeting some of the other teams, I recognized that they had a fierce sense of purpose when they worked on Hyperloop as well. And we pulled all-nighters every night the week of the competition, and after going back and reading blogs from other teams, they did as well. Although I did think that helped us. I think air-bearing technology was a huge differentiator between us and other teams. A lot of them went with magnetic levitation, passive maglev, which has some drag issues at high speeds, and you don't actually levitate until you're going a decent speed, maybe 50, 75 miles an hour.
Right.
So I think that was a differentiator, but in terms of, as a team, what helped us stand out, I think was partly our persistence, was our grit. We were told no a number of times throughout our journey,
right.
Including by SpaceX when they said, no, you cannot come to the first competition, and we said, we're going to keep building anyway because, damn it, we have a great design and this is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And even at the competition, we got a fair number of no's from those who came around and looked at our pod, and ultimately we worked really hard and pulled those all-nighters and prevailed, so it was a really cool week.
That's awesome.
At the end of it, we have a picture of the team holding up the award, and we're all exhausted and sunburned, and it was such a cool experience being out there at the SpaceX headquarters in California.
Definitely. That's like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So
Hopefully more than once if we go back to competition. But yeah, I definitely count that as a highlight of my life.
Nice. So, I mean, you mentioned earlier, you had the grit and the persistence. What kind of drives that passion for Hyperloop concept for you?
Really, it's the same thing that stemmed the idea of the Hyperloop in the first place. It's every time you're in your car, stuck in traffic. Okay. And just hating life because why am I working so hard to just sit here in traffic and wait every day for 45 minutes?
Right.
So in LA, it's way worse. In Austin, we say we have traffic, but compared to some other cities like New York, Atlanta, LA, it's kind of a joke. But if we have a technology like Hyperloop that can alleviate those traffic issues, and then allow people to live in one city that's 2 hours away from where they work, and they can make that commute in 20 minutes. It's going to change cityscapes, it's going to change lifestyles, and ultimately I think it's just technology delivering on the promise of making a better life.
Right. It's definitely revolutionary, and it's going to help everyone in the future.
Yeah, super
hopefully
exciting.
Very near future. So
hopefully the very near future.
Yeah. What advice do you have for anyone that's kind of looking to get into these kind of events and participate that don't know where to start?
Specifically for Hyperloop, you've got to look up the SpaceX competition rules, but in general, for really taking your hobby seriously, I would say, try to find a company that appreciates bold hobbies. It looks really great on your resume, yes, but there are companies out there like HomeAway where I work that really appreciate people who are very passionate about forward-thinking projects and hobbies. And if you can find a company like that, you can find like-minded individuals there, and then it just becomes a virtuous community of people with really cool hobbies.
Very cool. Nice.
Yeah.
How have your colleagues at HomeAway reacted to the news?
My colleagues at HomeAway were incredibly excited when they found out that a team from Austin went and competed and won the Innovation Award, and they were even more excited when one of their colleagues was working on it. In fact, HomeAway is very supportive in general. They were one of the key sponsors of the team, helping to fund and send the team out to Hawthorne, California. I personally got to speak to the executives about what we were doing with the Hyperloop competition, and they got t-shirts. It's been an incredible amount of support for a company that is very forward-thinking in terms of being a leader in vacation rentals, seeing something like Hyperloop and their employees working on technology like Hyperloop and saying, yes, that's something awesome that we want to support.
Very cool. Does HomeAway offer support for outside projects such as this?
They do offer support for very bold hobbies and initiatives. For instance, HomeAway saw what we were doing with Hyperloop and said, yes, we want to support you and give you a little bit of sponsorship. They host events at HomeAway all the time. So one of my favorite that they did recently was an LGBTQ hackout in which they took developers who wanted to work on new projects and just connected them to the ideas and did a hackout over the weekend. And that was an incredible event that produced a lot of great code and excitement. And HomeAway is definitely the kind of company that's very innovative and forward-thinking around those kinds of projects.
Nice. So how do you balance working at HomeAway, getting your MBA, and everything else on top of that with your external commitments?
I would not say I'm the best at balancing it. It's quite challenging because of the ebbs and flows of each. But I think the most balancing aspect of it is definitely those who are closest to you. For instance, my wife Kristen is probably what brings the most balance to my life in all of the chaos and really what allows me to go after these crazy ideas and to work on them. So I would say for me it's really important to get adequate amount of sleep and exercise and diet, and after that it's all just a juggling act. Right. That I'm not going to pretend to master at this point.
Nice. So take care of yourself, have a good support system.
Yep.
Just chase your dreams, basically.
Yeah, you've gotta choose to work on things that inspire yourself. And for me, projects that inspire me but also do things for other people are what can motivate me more than others.
Nice. Are there any other projects that you work on that we don't know about?
Nothing that's too ready for the public yet. I just bought a 3D printer recently, as well as a Windows mixed reality headset. So I'm looking into the 3D space right now to see what kind of interesting applications and technology are there. I think that should do it for now.
Nice, that's pretty good for now.
Yeah.
That's a good look.
My MBA is really my biggest project. It takes up so much time.
Right, I bet, yeah.
Taking 3 classes this semester, and we've got papers and finals coming up, and luckily Kristen's doing her MBA at the same time, so we actually get to sit in the car 2 nights a week after work, drive up together as we talk about our day, go sit in the same class for 3 hours, and then on our way back, get to catch up as well.
Nice. That's always good then to have someone else go do the same things as you. So,
oh yeah.
Very cool. Well, I guess, lastly, what can we expect to see from the Hyperloop concept and the SpaceX competition in the future? What can you tell us?
Ultimately, what I hope to see out of Hyperloop is Hyperloop tracks getting built. I want to see people going to work on the Hyperloop. I want to see people traveling through Hyperloop. Maybe a big dream for me is a vacation in which you go stay at something like a HomeAway, and you can take the Hyperloop from there to some other places to go check things out, and it would just be such an incredible experience to travel at that speed and have that kind of mobility on a futuristic transportation technology.
Definitely. Do you think that's going to be here in the next couple years, or when do you kind of see that happening?
Yeah, so if it were all up to me, it would be here this year. But unfortunately, I think the biggest blocker for Hyperloop is not the technology. In fact, I think that's part of the purpose of a student competition building Hyperloop pods, is to show that students who are learning the fundamentals of engineering can build this. The technology is not the blocker. I think the bigger blocker is right-of-way and regulation, just government policies and society in general accepting a new form of transportation that wants to move really fast. Right. Yeah, so anyway, you can live in Austin and you can work in Dallas, and that's a future that is really cool.
That is awesome. Well, Ben, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Marla.
Thank you so much for HomeAway for letting us borrow Ben today and kind of telling us more about HomeAway and this SpaceX competition. And thank you for Computer Futures for hosting this interview.